everybody. What's going on? It's Monday once again. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. We had a good one. It was, we went out Friday night and we had a really good time. And so then, like, the rest of the weekend, we were like, oh.
We were wiped out.
I was very hungover on Saturday. So I think we didn't do anything except go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That was about all we could muster. But we had a really good time Friday night anyway.
This movie got recommended to us by a viewer. Was it High Desert?
It might have been Phantom. I don't remember. Or it might have been High Desert because you said you'd seen it.
Yeah.
The thing about it, here's what's weird. I was actually going to do this on my own on my Flickers of Fear series because I didn't know if you'd really be into it or not. But I hadn't got around to it yet. That was going to be like the next one I was going to do. And we were just scrolling through movies last night, like looking for shit. And it was on Amazon Prime. And Tom's like, well, that one looks kind of interesting. And I was like, well, it's on Shudder. Like, so, because on Amazon Prime, you have to pay to rent it. But on Shudder, well, I have Shudder, so we don't have to. So I said, well, do you want to do that one? And he's like, yeah. So I was like, okay. I mean, you liked Nosferatu. Yeah. So I figured you'd probably be into this. This is very gothic horror.
Yeah. Well, I like vampire movies.
Yeah, and you like vampire movies. This was a cool-ass movie. I really liked this a lot.
This movie is proof that you don't need a big budget to tell a good story and to make a good movie. You just need a good script and good actors, good concept. This is not about a vampire. This is about a Vourdalak.
A Vourdalak.
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 Which is an undead creature.
It's like a proto-vampire.
Yeah.
Some of the same shit as vampires, but it's not exactly
the same. Kind of like a Strigoi. A Strigoi is
more really similar to that, really.
It's not a vampire, but it can create vampires and it can create zombies and living creatures and it's also a sorcerer, So it's undead in that way. It's related to a vampire, but it's not a vampire. This thing here can travel in the daytime.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to return to the grave, as far as I could tell.
It doesn't seem to.
It can do certain things that a vampire does. It drinks blood.
Yeah.
It can crawl along ceilings.
Yeah, did that.
It's if it bites you, you're going to turn into one.
Yep.
The main difference, though, is that with this thing, what's it called, a Vourdalak?
No, a Vourdalak.
Vourdalak, yeah.
Vourdalak.
Yeah. A Vourdalak, the main difference, one of the things it does is it travels through families. It's like when you become a Vourdalak, you go after your loved ones.
Which is that's where the vampire lore came from. Yeah. Initially,
plagues.
When you had Strigoi and creatures like this, which were kind of like proto-vampires, like I call them, that was kind of your thing, is that they, someone would die, and then the story went that they would come back from the grave and then, eat all their family members, or, suck all the blood and kill their family members. Yeah. And it would, spread. Like I said, it was a way of explaining plague for people that didn't know what plague was. But, so you kind of see that here, where it's more of, a familial... I will note, okay, so this is actually based on a novella from 1839 by Tolstoy. Not that one.
A different Tolstoy?
Aleksey Tolstoy, who was actually quite a well-known writer in his own right, but obviously not as famous as his second cousin, Leo Tolstoy, who wrote War and Peace and many other things. Now, I am 95% sure that this same novella was the source of... You guys remember the Mario Bava horror anthology Black Sabbath? And the segment of it that was called The Vourdalak, with a W, with Boris Karloff? Pretty sure that's based on the same thing, because I haven't read the novella, but I've seen the Mario Bava movie, and when I looked up the plot synopsis for the novella, all the names and shit are the same as they were in the Mario Bava movie too, as they were in this movie. So I think they're both and the story is very similar. So I think that they're both based on the same thing. So if you liked the Mario Bava Black Sabbath Vourdalak story, this is based on the same story, pretty sure.
Yeah. This creature's pretty interesting. It tries to sweet talk you into not realizing that it is what it is. It tries to keep you in denial. It chews its own burial shroud. Sometimes it's strong. And the main one that is shown in this movie is actually a life-size marionette.
Yeah,
it's pretty fucking creepy.
I love that they did that, and like they're not hiding that it's a marionette.
Yeah, it's obviously
like it's very obviously a puppet.
Yeah, and the family members are just kind of like, they're in denial. They think that that's a living person. You know, you don't know what he looked like before he was turned.
Yeah, they never show him
was
before.
real old. Yeah.
Well, and something that I didn't actually think of, but then I thought about it later. Considering something that happens later in the movie, if you've seen the movie, the sex scene, you know what I'm talking about. He has the ability to cast like essentially like a glamour.
Yeah, he can.
So he can look like whatever he wants to look like.
Yeah.
So it could be that when he returned to his family, they were seeing him the way they remembered him, and not looking like he looked. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's about this. Starts off this French guy. He's all dandied up and shit.
He's very prissy.
This is in the 1700s, and I guess he's in Wallachia. They never really quite
actually
say.
In the novella, I believe it's Serbia.
Serbia, okay.
So I'm assuming they never specify in the movie, but I'm assuming that's.
But looking at everybody else's clothes, it's definitely something Eastern.
Yeah, it's Eastern Europe, obviously.
They almost kind of look. It almost kind of looks like Islam or something. A mixture of Islam and you know, for like Tatars and shit. Kind of what it looks like. And he's was in a I guess like a caravan that got wiped out.
Yeah,
by the Turks.
Yeah, they don't show any of that. That just like at the very beginning.
Yeah,
and he just shows up at a house and is like.
He survives it. He's on foot. He's just got his little fucking rapier and shit, and he's all in his 1700s French fucking garb. You know, and he's an envoy of the king. He's some kind of courtesan, delivering a message, and he's got to get this message of the king to somewhere. I forgot where it was he was going.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did he even say where he was going?
I thought he did say. No, maybe he didn't say he was going. He just had to deliver this message somewhere.
He might not have said where he was going.
So he's on foot, and first thing he sees is he sees what he thinks is a girl. And when he comes up on him, it turns out it's a dude in girl's clothes.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh wow, that was weird." And then a few minutes later, he runs off. A few minutes later, he runs into a good-looking girl. And he tries to put the moves on her. He almost tries to fucking sexually assault her at one point in the thing.
Kinda.
Yeah. Tries to fucking bully his way into getting some. Turns out she's a witch.
Mm.
And the guy that was dressed in women's clothing is her brother.
Yeah.
And she agrees to take him to her house. And they'd hook him up with a horse. And they'd be compensated, you know, once he got where he was going.
Yeah, because he lost everything. Everybody in his entourage was killed. All the horses were stolen. Blah blah.
So he gets there, and you meet her. It's a brother, right? And his brother and the wife.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah. There's an older male brother.
Yeah.
And then there's the younger male brother. Kid. Yeah, and then the older male brother has a wife and kid.
Yeah.
Like the kid's like 5 or 6 or something like that.
So he comes back and he goes, "Where's Dad?" And he goes, "Oh, he left. He went to go to fight the Turks."
Yeah.
And she's like, "At his age, that's ridiculous. How'd you let him go?" And he goes, "He gave us instructions that if he didn't come back by a certain time, that don't believe him, that's not him." And that, you know,
or if he doesn't come back, just mourn him. But if he does come back, then that's not him.
That's not him.
Then he's a Vourdalak.
He's a Vourdalak.
Yeah.
He shows up late, and he's a Vourdalak.
Yeah.
But his son, his oldest son, just can't see it. He's got the head of an enemy. It's fucking bizarre.
Yeah,
man.
that's like the main guy. Well, because the oldest son, who's what was his name? Jagor. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I killed all these Turks, but I wanted to get the leader.
Yeah.
But I didn't get him, like he got away. And so when the grandpa comes back, like when the dad comes back as a Vourdalak, he has the head of the guy with him, and they're like, wow, like he fucking did that, you know what I mean? Even though he's old as shit. But the thing about it is that when he comes back, well, here's the thing. He's supposed to, he says, if I'm not back in 6 days, like, 6 24-hour periods, literally.
Yeah.
Then just mourn me, I'm gone. I'm dead.
Yeah.
But if I do come back in 6 days, then don't trust me because I'm a Vourdalak. I'm like not a person anymore. Yeah. So what happens is that right at the strike of 6 p.m. on the 6th day, which is right when he left, they notice they're all out on the lawn, like having dinner or whatever, and then they notice him like laying in the yard.
Yeah, like in a pile.
Like in this pile of like clothes and stuff.
He looks
and
dead
they,
and shit.
And they're like, what the fuck? And they like go and like pick him up and they bring him to the table.
Yeah.
And at first he has like all this stuff over his face and he's just kind of like this and his hands look real fucked up, you know what I mean? Because obviously you know this is going to be. But then like eventually, and then he puts the head on the table, which...
Yeah, he goes, I got his head, you know.
And they're like, wow,
and he's got it
cool.
at the dinner table.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
You hear the flies buzzing.
And
the French guy's tripping. He's
like, what the fuck did I get myself in?
Because he's from civilization, basically, and he's going, these fucking rednecks are crazy.
Pretty much.
And he's looking at this fucking vampire, and he's going like, that ain't right. You know what I mean? Fucking. But I guess he didn't know what he looked like before he left.
Well, they never show, because they never show what the dad looked like.
Yeah.
His name's Gorcha, and it was his house that the guy went to, because at the very beginning, like the very first scene, is the French guy, who you don't see at first, going to this other house and saying to the guy in this house, hey, you know, my whole entourage got killed, or like, and everything got stolen, and I'm on my own, and I need a horse, like, because I'm on a mission or whatever, and you only see his... Like, it's a storm, and you only see his shadow, like, in the lightning, like, with his hat and everything. And the guy's just like, fuck off, you're not coming in here. Go to old Gorcha's house. So that's how he ends up at this house. Like, this guy told him to go there. And so when he gets to the house, all of Gorcha's relatives are there. Like, all his kids and grandkids. But they're all acting real weird. And then finally, he's just like, look, I just want a horse. Like, you know, when I get where I'm going, like, I'll make sure you're handsomely compensated and all this other stuff. And the oldest son, Jagor, he says, okay, well, I'll go ask Dad. But then he goes in there and he's like, okay, he's not in there. Yeah. So you never see the dad before he turns into that.
Yeah.
So you don't know what he looked like before.
Right.
So we don't know, because at first, until, like I said, some later shit happened where we were like, oh, okay, that explains that. But,
he looks worse than Nosferatu from the,
yeah, he's very obviously... Like I said, the cool thing about this movie, and the cool thing about this movie, one, is that it's shot on Super 16 millimeter, so it's very, very cinematic. Like, it looks like...
Looks like a Hammer horror
It looks like an old Hammer horror film.
Yeah.
Because they shot it on actual 16 millimeter film. And the fact that they used a very obvious puppet, a very obvious marionette for the Vourdalak, which you'd think almost gives it like a little bit of a comedic touch, but not really, because in some scenes that thing is creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
It's really creepy.
Yeah. It's at the table. It's got the head. The enemy's head on the fucking table, and he's talking to his family. He's getting sick and shit. And he's got a little grandson. He's probably about 6, maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And who's just laughing his ass off.
Like, he thinks the head is the funniest thing that he's ever seen.
Funny.
In
He
his
thinks
life.
his granddad's funny. His granddad, the Vourdalak, or the fucking the vampire granddad's fucking hamming it up and throwing his face in the fucking soup and just acting a fool for the child. And the child's just fucking roaring with laughter. He says some suspicious shit about, you know, his favorite one type of deal. And he goes after that one. And I think the sister, the witch girl, knows something's up.
Her and the cross-dressing brother.
Yeah, they knew something.
They know that that's a Vourdalak because they said that's what he said. But the oldest brother is in denial.
Yeah, he doesn't believe it.
Like I don't believe any of that superstitious bullshit. It's like he's not really a vampire. It's just like that's so silly. But they're trying to fend off because they know what's happened.
Yeah, and
like
the witch chick is like, they usually go after their most favorite relative, and it's going to be that little boy. You said, and so. He's got to spend the night there, and the French guy is going to keep his eye on the little boy. Middle of the night, he wakes up, the little boy's fucking walking out on his own, out in the woods at night. He follows him.
Shit.
When he's out there, the fucking Vourdalak attacks him, takes the boy, and bites him and turns him. The next morning, they find him dead. Wasn't it the next morning, or was it? No, he comes back, he's sick. Or no, he'd already been bitten, hadn't he?
Yeah, he got bit 2 times.
He got bit twice, that's right. They find him dead.
Because I think the first time he got bit, like he came back and he was still alive. But because remember they were doing all the witchcraft rituals, like trying to save him, and then like Jagora came home and was like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Yeah, he made him stop.
And he made him stop it.
Yeah, and then after he was dead, they tried to fucking take a stake and nail him down into a board. I guess they were gonna bury. And he stopped that too. When they turned their back, fucking next thing you know, he was gone. Isn't that right? Isn't he gone? He shows up later.
Yeah.
Vourdalak, but he went missing. Didn't the body go missing? That's how I remembered it.
Wait, the dad?
The little boy.
No. What happened with that was that...
They were going to nail him in.
Yeah, they were going to... Yeah, that's another thing, is that they specified... This is kind of also how the Vourdalak, like, differs from a vampire, is that, yes, you stake them, but the stake doesn't kill them. It just pins them down so they can't get up and cause any mischief.
Yeah.
But they're still alive. They're just wriggling around there.
Holds them in place.
And there's also that whole chewing their shroud thing.
Yeah.
That's brought into play a lot, too.
When you see them, they're usually chewing
on the shroud.
On the burial shroud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Weird shit happens in this flick, man.
They
all start turning one by one. The French dude's trying to get it on with the witch chick.
Yeah. She is pretty awesome.
He makes a move on the witch chick, and he's banging the hell out of her. Looks down, and this is Vourdalak. And he's fucking Vourdalak. I guess. I guess the dick is in the booty. And afterwards, he got up, and it was telling him that he loved him and shit like that. It's just like, I should have met you before. It's just fucking weird, man. And he's going, what?
What the fuck is going on right now?
So he runs. He finds the girl. He thought she had thrown herself off the cliff.
Because of what some shit she said earlier.
But he leaves. He goes back, and burns all the fucking Vourdalak, kills them all. Then he eventually finds the girl, and he's been bitten. It's pretty fucking, and he gives her all his shit, fucking, and he goes, "Look, deliver the message. Go back to the fucking court. Take the horse. Get the hell out of here. Fucking my time is short, And he fucking does a backflip off the fucking cliff and kills himself. And she gets on the horse and fucking rides to fucking France. Turns out though she was a Vourdalak.
Yeah, she didn't look like it.
Yeah, and when she got there, she spread it. She spread it throughout France.
Yeah, it's implied. Yeah,
it's implied by some written stuff.
Which I wonder if that's like in the, because now I want to kind of go. I mean, High Desert said earlier that obviously the novella is in the public domain now, so you can probably go read if there's a translation of it. You can probably go read it online. So now I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, this is all in French.
Yeah, the movie's
good in French.
The movie's in French, yeah.
It's good in French, yeah.
High Desert said there is a creepy portrait of the grandfather on the wall, which looks like the puppet, though. Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that, because they do actually show that a couple times when we keep calling him the French guy, the Marquis.
Yeah.
I think his name is Jacques. Like, when he comes in the house, he looks up and he sees it, and then, like, he looks up at it again later on. And, yeah, the portrait does look like the puppet. So maybe that's what Grandpa always looked like. Maybe he always looked like a creepy skeleton marionette.
Bunch of cool shit happens in it. You'd have to see it for yourself.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely if you like Nosferatu or like movies like that are very, very gothic horror, I think you'll really be into this. And like I said, I kind of feel like I don't want to say it's because of the puppet that it has like a comedic tinge to it, because it doesn't really. It's a pretty serious movie. But you can tell that they were being it's like slightly playful with it.
Yeah. Well, it said shit that was funny too.
Yeah.
It wasn't a real serious. It's not a vampire. It's a vampire adjacent. It's related to vampires.
Yeah.
You're not dealing with fucking Bela Lugosi or anything in Dracula. You're not dealing with fucking Count fucking Orlok. It's just some Serbian old dude that's now been turned into this undead, and it's like a vampire type creature, but it's not a vampire.
Yeah, there's a couple, like I said, it's a couple different things about it.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like it can, because it sleeps in the house. He comes home, and they're like, okay, and they put him back in bed, but he sneaks out at night.
It is one of the undead.
Yeah, he is undead.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly, the rules aren't exactly the same as
If you watch What's the one? Blood. What's the one with the with the Stragoi?
Blood vessel.
Blood vessel. By what you kind of shows in Blood Vessel and some of the stuff that I read up on the Stragoi, the Stragoi are the king of the undead. They're like the top of the fucking apex predator. They're in at the top of the undead system. This is something kind of more like maybe underneath of fucking Count Orlok and Dracula type vampire. It's not that strong, but it doesn't have the same limitations either. It can walk around in the daytime.
Well, I was going to say, too, though, because High Desert pointed out it's like the family basically wimps out on trying to kill it.
Yeah.
But I think that's because, I mean, they pretty strongly imply that it has kind of mind control.
Yeah.
And also physical control at a distance, because at one point, when the French guy, when the Marquis, like, goes out after the little boy, and there's like a big confrontation with them and the Vourdalak in the woods. The Vourdalak basically just goes patonk and just like throws him against a tree, like without touching him.
It's got telekinesis.
Yeah. And there was a scene later on where I thought it was pretty strongly implied that he made the daughter dance when she didn't want to.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, didn't she look like she was being...
book dance.
Yeah, didn't it look like she was being forced?
Yeah. He was using mind control.
Like he was using mind control on her.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, like, after I saw that scene, I thought, well, maybe that's why, like, the other son.
Yeah.
Because they were standing right there and he had the stake. Like, he could have just gone chunk and he could have just killed him, but he didn't. And he kind of flipped out about it and started crying and stuff. But it's like, maybe he just mind controlled him and said, no, you can't do it.
It could channel the dead, too. Remember, because it already killed the witch girl, and it was like it was channeling her. I think it was saying things that kind of like she would say, or maybe it was just an illusion. Remember, because after the fucking French dude was fucking it started to tell him that he loved him. He should have met him.
I mean, that whole scene, I was like, wow,
fuck?
I was not expecting this to happen.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was supposed to be the girl talking through him, or he was impersonating the girl. Because remember, he looked like the girl.
Yeah.
At first.
Well, he thought it was her.
Yeah.
It looked like her. It was her.
Yeah.
But then
he flip-flopped on him. Looked down and, oh, shit.
Which,
and it's like this corpse.
That's gotta be a weird fucking...
Yeah, and he was still thrusting, looking at it.
Like, what...
It's like, dude...
the hell is going on?
Get out of that thing.
We're like, what hole are you even in?
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's gotta be the booty hole.
It's gotta be the booty hole. I'm guessing. Because we had like a whole discussion about, because that's how we
He was
do.
Like, yeah, just like, was he fucking that? He had to have been.
Because we're 12 years old.
Yeah.
So we were just sitting there going, well, wait, what?
It had to have been.
What hole was he putting that in then?
It had to have been.
Well, maybe when he does a glamour, because that's what that was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was making himself look like...
Yeah.
Sedenka, I think her name was. Making himself look like her. And maybe that extended to the vagina also.
I ain't gonna buy it.
You're not buying it?
No, I'm not gonna buy it.
He's not buying it.
And when he came to, he realized what he was doing. He'd already been bitten. Remember?
He didn't realize.
He didn't realize he'd been bitten?
Well, yeah, because he was just going on about his day, and then he sees blood dripping on the floor. He's like, I wonder whose blood that... Oh, it's mine. So, yeah. Phantom said, how did 13 O'Clock Podcast come across this film? I think somebody in the chat mentioned it.
Yeah.
I had seen it pop up, because I scroll Shudder like every few days to see what they add, because they usually add new stuff like on Thursdays or Fridays or something.
Yeah.
And I saw that it was added, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably do a video on that.
Yeah. It's a new movie.
It's actually technically it's from 2023.
2023, yeah.
I think it was released in France in late 2023.
Okay.
So
they just released it now.
Yeah, I don't know if it got a release over here, but I heard a couple people talking about it.
It's on Shudder and it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon Prime. On Amazon Prime, I think you have to pay $3.99 to rent it, but if you have Shudder, it's free.
Yeah, it's worth it.
But yeah, like if you like gothic horror and you and you don't have to be, I'm just really glad. Because at first we're like, well, the Vourdalak, I mean, it's a puppet, right? I mean, it's very clearly a puppet. And they didn't even, like, try to make the mouth line up with what he was saying or anything like that. But I was kind of like, I kind of dug that decision.
Well, it's a practical effect.
Yeah. And it was just kind of like, and they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
and they were just like leaning into it, and it's just like they very easily could have made some cheesy ass looking CGI looking crap that wouldn't have looked that good.
This comes off actually as a late 60s or 70s hammer horror film.
Yeah,
what it looks like.
Like they chose to go like a more stylized kind of route, and I kind of, like I said, I kind of really respect that, and the fact that they filmed it on, you know, actual film and to make it look more like an old movie. I thought that was like a really cool idea. You know what I mean?
What I liked about it is that it shows Hollywood that to have a great movie, you don't need a huge budget. And you don't need a fucking bunch of CGI. It was just a classic old school horror movie with a really good script and good acting and a good story.
Well, I feel like when I do my Flickers of Fear videos, I tend to say that a lot because I kind of like smaller indie horror films. You know, I've liked films that were essentially just like two people in a house talking and was still scary. You know what I mean? So all you need is like a good script and good actors and a good premise. Yeah. And you don't really need
a good edit.
Yeah, well, that too. And you don't really need, editors are like kind of the unsung heroes of movie making, I will say. But it's just kind of like, you don't need all the bells and whistles and spectacle necessarily to make something good or make something scary.
Old school practical effects, and it was effective. It's just, you know, this is cinema, you know, theater. It doesn't have to convince me that's real. It's just telling a story, and it's, you know, I know it's a puppet, but it is creepy. So you go, okay, it's
especially that one scene where he pops up like behind the tree, like when he's there with the little boy and stuff like that. That was really creepy.
It's a marionette, but it looks cool. It's creepy.
Yeah, it's cool looking.
It's so fucking skinny. No human could be that skinny.
And maybe that, maybe that's kind of where they were.
It's a skeleton almost.
They're like, well, we can't afford to get Doug Jones in here, who is usually the guy that you get to put in the suit when you're, you know what I mean? When you want some really skinny, scary looking monster, because that's kind of his whole gig.
His son was picking him up like it was nothing and just carried him. Like he weighed.
Like he didn't weigh anything.
Like he weighed 60
Like
pounds.
he was just bones.
Maybe 50 pounds, yeah.
Well, he looked like he was just bones.
Yeah.
But it's a really good puppet. I really like the puppet. And just the way he moved, because they show him moving like full length sometimes. And he's got this big long shroud on that kind of like drags behind him, like when he's walking through the woods and stuff. And it looks really cool. Because he's not... I think the creepiest thing about it is because you know it's not a person... Yeah. So the way it moves is like really like a little bit unnatural. Yeah. So it's like a little bit uncanny. Yeah. And I think that works to the movie's advantage.
In that one scene where he fights the French guy over the boy, he fucking waves his hand and fucking dude goes flying, and he goes flying through the fucking forest and hits a tree. And you could tell it wasn't a man. It was another puppet. Yeah. But it looked cool. You're like, all right, you know. That was cool. It was good enough.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think there's a lot to be said for, you know, it's an art form. It's a movie. Yeah. Like, everything doesn't have to look 100% real. And to be honest with you, I would rather see a puppet that's obviously a puppet
than CG.
Than some cheesy-ass fucking CG, which is obviously CG. Yeah. Yeah, there's been some good CG, but most of it still looks really fake to me.
And it's not there.
And it's not there.
The actors aren't seeing it.
And that's very distracting to me. Yeah. So it's just, so I kind of like when a movie is just, you know what, fuck it. We're just going to, it's a puppet, and we're not going to try and hide the fact that it's a puppet. You know, it'll look really cool, like it looks like a cool puppet and everything like that, but it's very obviously a puppet.
I saw some behind-the-scenes shots of some kind of werewolf movie they're making. They had these three guys in these werewolf costumes with these special fucking bionic legs, and they're running through a medieval fucking town. It looks fucking great, and it's all practical. It's just a costume, kind of like a werewolf out of that British one. Fucking what was that British?
Dog Soldiers.
Dogs, so kind of like that. But
or the Howling. I think they had they had those upright.
Yeah, but they were even better looking.
Yeah,
they're even better looking. I don't know the name of the movie, but I just saw a little on Instagram. There's some behind the scenes takes. They were running on those fucking stilts. They showed what they looked like. They were just metal and in the inside they had fur over them, but they showed the development of them. They could run pretty fast on them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm not averse to CG if it's just used to supplement like what you're doing. But I like nowadays, it seems like, particularly in horror, you're not seeing... Because I kind of feel like in the 90s, 2000s, you saw just a lot of just everything with CGI. Even blood splatters were done with CGI, for Christ's sake. And it just got... so ugly and it was just so fake looking. So I kind of feel like now we're seeing like the backlash toward that, where people are going back toward practical effects and maybe using CGI to like clean stuff up or supplement, like I said, what's already there or something like that. But I don't have a problem with that as long as the shit is actually there. You know what I mean?
Like Fury Road. Everything in Fury Road was actually there. They just used CG to erase the tire tracks.
Yeah, erase tire tracks and wires and
the
harnesses
safety harnesses
and stuff
that they
like
had
that.
on it. They erased all that.
That's all. Like I said,
those,
and that's...
Even the fire that came out of the guitar and was real. Some people said that was CG fire. No, it wasn't.
No, it was real.
It was real fire. It's just that we
saw the behind the scenes.
Yeah, they had a color. I think they had a color filter on it, kind of made it look redder than it.
Like I said, they do adjust things in post production, but there was fire on there.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've seen the behind the scenes. Like they really did flip that truck. They really did do all that stuff.
And a lot of that shit came flying towards the camera. Only thing that didn't come, only thing that was CG was the steering wheel.
Yeah.
The rest of it actually did. It looked fake, but that was real. They were just...
Yeah, they really did that.
Yeah. They just shot it at a certain frame rate.
Yeah.
And played it back at another frame rate. And it looked funny. It looked fake, but it was real. That truck turning over on its side and all that shit coming at the camera.
Yeah. For some reason, I kind of thought... I don't know why I just thought of this. But since we're talking about a movie that's realistic, but also has like a very obvious puppet in it, and no one comments on it, for some reason, I thought of the movie Stop Motion, which I did a review of a few months back, which was kind of about a stop motion animator and how her stop motion movie was like leeching into her everyday life. And it was like a realistic movie, but it also had like stop motion elements to it. And I kind of feel like maybe this was doing the same thing. It was kind of... Like I said, I don't want to oversell that, because I kind of feel like it was like winking at the audience, because it's not. Like they present the Vourdalak as a puppet, like just as that's what it is. That's what it looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody comments on it. Nothing like that. That's just what he looks like. And like High Desert said, because of that portrait, which I totally forgot about, I was like, yeah, maybe that's what the grandpa looked like before. Maybe that's what he looked like before. So it's like, that's why nobody was alarmed, like when he sat down at the table and took the thing off and he just looked like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. He said something earlier that I kind of wanted to comment on. High Desert said, I wonder, since this movie is French, it's like implying the French aristocracy were like vampires too. Yeah, you could kind of read that into it. The Marquis is presented at first as a very... I don't want to say very unlikable, but kind of an unlikable character at the beginning. Yeah. Would you say that's fair?
What's that?
The Marquis at the beginning of this movie is presented as kind of unlikable.
Yeah.
He's kind of like... he's very prissy.
Yeah.
He's very... I mean, he's polite.
He's wimpy, too.
Yeah, he's polite. He's not like a jerk or anything like that, really. But, he's kind of wimpy and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But you know that there's something behind there, because at one point, he's kind of into the witchy chick, Sedenka. And at first, he tries to be all simpy, like going down on his knees and like giving us, look, I found this apple for you, and all this other kind of stuff and everything. And then she's like, nah, bro. And then he kind of just like grabs her arm and implies that he's going to rape her. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say that.
She intimidates his ass.
But that's what the implication is. Yeah. But she is just like not having it. She's like not scared of him at all. She could probably like knock him flat, honestly. But I like that as the story goes on, even though he gave me a slight, not as bad, not as overt, a little bit of like an Ichabod Crane kind of vibe. Like I said, not quite as exaggerated as the Ichabod Crane character, but and obviously not the one from the Tim Burton movie, because that was Johnny Depp. But I'm talking about like the one from the original story, who was all gangly and cowardly. You know what I mean? So he kind of gave me that kind of vibe to a degree. But as the movie goes on, and as his feelings for Sedenka, you're led to presume become more pronounced. Like, he actually finds a kind of heroism, you know what I mean? Like, even though he's initially presented as just this very, very mincing weenie, kind of, you know what I mean? It's just like, obviously he's from the French court. He's never had to... He has a sword, but he's just like, ooh, I have a sword, but it's like, it was used by one of my family members to kill somebody like 200 years ago or some shit like that. So it's like, obviously he's never had to like work or like fight or do anything like that. But, and he's... the funny thing was, too, that they showed that he went to the trouble, because, during this period in French history, the aristocrats would put on that white face paint. You know what I mean? And with the mole and everything. And so they show that he's doing that, even though he's in the middle of Serbia, in this house, which is a big house, stone house, but with a dirt floor. And they show him, like, going to the trouble of, like, putting the makeup on every day. Like, not every day, but they imply that he's doing that because he always has that makeup on. But I like that they kind of made him, like, find his heroism, like, as the movie went on. Yeah. I guess because he was in love with her, and that kind of, like, brought it out of him. So I kind of like that character arc, you know what I mean? But yeah, this was, I was surprised by, I thought I was going to like it, because I heard somebody say that it's like, oh, if you're really into, like, gothic horror, you like Nosferatu, you probably like this. So I thought I was going to like it, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
It was unique.
Yeah, it was really something kind of different.
Yeah.
And, if you're into, like, just, slasher horror, that kind of stuff, you're probably not going to be into it. But if you're really into, like, gothic horror, like old, like, Hammer horror, or that kind of stuff, then you'll probably, like, really be into it, I feel like.
Well, it's also got all that Eastern European, like, folklore type.
Yeah, which, like I said, Nosferatu does slightly, too.
Witchcraft. It's got witchcraft.
Yeah, and a little bit of witchcraft and that kind of stuff. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like I really liked it a lot,
Yeah.
So, and Tom liked it also, and he's really picky.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm picky because I don't like shit that's good. I know good when I see it. I do.
I know.
Yeah. Some shit is, it's like, nah, that's not good. But, and Jen likes it, but I'm just like, nah, not for me.
Yeah. Heido said, have you all ever seen The Car? Yes.
Yeah, we reviewed it.
We actually did a review of it, and I think somebody mentioned Race with the Devil earlier. We actually, I think, if I'm recalling correctly, I think we did a double feature review of The Car and Race with the Devil, because we were doing like an automotive horror double feature.
Didn't that have Lee Majors in it? Or who was that?
No, The Car, it was, wasn't it a Brolin?
Yeah, Race with the Devil. No, Race with the Devil has Wilton Shatner in it, didn't it?
No, that was,
which one was that?
That was
the satanic one.
That was The Devil's Reign.
Devil's Reign, okay.
The Devil's Reign had William Shatner and Anton LaVey in it. Well, Anton LaVey was in it for like a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't get excited. Race with the Devil was the one with Peter Fonda.
Uh-huh.
And him, and I think, wasn't Hot Lips in it? Hot Lips on
yeah.
I think it might have been Hot Lips.
Is that the one that had fucking...
Loretta Swit.
Yeah.
And who the fuck else was in it? But they were like in a Winnebago.
Yeah, the dude that played Cabby from fucking...
And then they got set upon by a bunch of like satanic bikers or something. Yeah.
Ernest Borgnine was in it, wasn't he? Wasn't he the head satanic priest?
No, that was The Devil's Reign.
That was Devil's Reign? Okay.
That was The Devil's Reign.
Okay.
I'm
getting kind of confused.
Race with the Devil is a completely different movie.
Long time ago.
And then The Car, I think, had... James Brolin,
yeah,
the one that was in Amityville Horror.
Yeah, that was actually,
and that was like was it a possessed car?
No,
or it was it wasn't necessarily a possessed car.
It was the devil in the form of
it was
car.
The devil
in the
car. I don't think you ever saw the driver of the car.
I think it was the devil in the form of a car.
Might have been, yeah.
And you see, because it does supernatural shit, kind of like Christine.
Yeah, kind of. It's like a proto Christine.
Yeah. Brolin sees in there, but they never show what he sees.
Yeah,
it just freaks him out.
Yeah, he just gets freaked out.
It may have been that there's nothing in there.
Yeah, because they never show you.
Yeah.
Like, it's a black... What kind of car is it? I don't remember. It's like
it was a customized car.
It's like a flat black...
Kind of like luxury muscle car.
I think when we did the review, like, we looked it up.
I looked up what it was.
But it was modified.
It was heavily modified. They made it about a foot wider. They did things like took all the doorknobs off of it. It didn't have any door handles. It was pretty customized. Almost kind of like a lowrider.
Yeah, kind
of. Crossed in a lowrider, a hearse, and a muscle car or a Cadillac, something like that. There's no way to describe it really. You just have to see it.
Guitar Girl was asking earlier.
I think it was like a Toronado, wasn't it? Something like
What,
that.
like the car from the dark half?
Yeah. Something like that. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I think that you're probably thinking of the
Tornado,
dark
yeah.
half. But I mean, it very well might have been a Tornado. I can't remember now.
It was-
but I
they
just
made it
Tornado
wider.
I always associate with the dark
They
half.
made it wider.
Yeah,
And
like I
put
said,
big
it's
fat
heavily
wheels on it.
modified. Heavily
Yeah.
modified. Yeah, Guitar Girl was saying earlier, like, what are we talking about? And I don't know if anybody answered. And she said, this is good, but I still don't know, LOL. And then she said, I love this show. We were actually reviewing a movie from 2023, a French movie called The Vourdalak, which is kind of it's kind of a vampire movie, but not exactly, because it's pre-vampire. Because honestly, the novella that this was based on by the other Tolstoy, it came out a long time before Dracula. The novella came out in 1839. When the fuck did Dracula come out?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It was like a lot later than that. Now I can't even remember. 1880 something, 1870 something. Shit, now I can't remember. But it was this was like way before Dracula. But it's a lot more Eastern European vampire, which Dracula has too. But like this is much more. It's not exactly a vampire because he doesn't have the same rules. There's some of the same rules, but not.
The oldest story out of them all, though, would be Carmilla. Right? The lesbian vampires. I think is the
now
oldest one.
Carmilla, which is Sheridan Le Fanu, that might have come out slightly after this.
Okay.
It's still pre-Dracula, though.
Okay, yeah, pre-Dracula, right.
I thought Carmilla was 1850s.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
All that shit in Hammer Horror
1851?
with the lesbian vampires and all that shit, that's not fan fiction. That was the original.
Yeah, I said,
the way it was.
Carmilla was pre-Dracula.
Pre-Dracula, yeah.
Sheridan Le Fanu. It's
Lesbian
a great
vampires.
It's a great novella.
They probably got it from Countess Bathory stories.
Yeah, everybody's pretty sure that's who it was based on. We did a show about Countess Bathory, and it's like, I'm still on the fence about whether she actually did that shit, or if, like, people were just...
I think she did it.
Hating on her for no reason, and they just made up stories about her afterward.
I think she was pretty cruel. She was a cruel,
yeah, I think she was kind of a
cruel
shitty
psychopath.
I think she was kind of a shitty person.
And she had this little lesbian lover. She was she was forced into the marriage with the dude. She didn't give a shit about that. And she was up in that castle with all that power, and they were abusing girls and killing them, starving them and shit.
Yeah, it's not like it doesn't happen.
You could do it back then if you were nobility. Yeah, because you were the law of the land. You owned people. They were like they were slaves.
Nobody cared about the peasants.
Yeah, especially Eastern Europe. I mean, they had a long tradition of the peasants were just like food. They could do whatever they wanted.
I mean, you had to kill a really lot of them before people would be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
maybe you should stop that."
Yeah. You literally could kill them. You had the power of life and death over them.
Yeah, which is scary to think about, but they
were like warlords.
Yeah,
or drug lords. About the same fucking kind of thing.
Pretty common thing.
Yeah.
CB said 13 o'clock is my favorite podcast.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Who said that?
CB did.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We try. Like I said, we're just kind of freewheeling here, you know what I mean?
That food's probably ready.
Oh yeah, we got food cooking
got food waiting downstairs.
So I guess we better go. But yeah, so if you have Shudder, and you like old gothic Hammer vampire films, and you don't mind reading subtitles, because like I said, this is in French.
Yeah, but it's good. You want to see it in French.
It's really fun. I had a good time with this one. But yeah, it's also on Amazon Prime, but you got to pay a couple bucks to rent it. But it's totally worth it if you're into that kind of thing. Like, so yeah. All right, so we are going to wrap it up for the evening because we got some food cooking, which I think is done downstairs on the pressure cooker. So we're going to go have some dinner. But yeah, hopefully you guys can come back on Wednesday and join us. As you guys probably remember, if you were here on Friday or whenever it was, Papa77 Morrison, one of our regulars in the chat, gave us a very generous super chat to do a specific show. So we said we would do that. So we're going to do a show about the piece of shit serial killer, Robert Lee Yates, who killed lots and lots of people, mostly women. One dude, but mostly women in the Pacific Northwest, mostly in the Washington State area. So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday night. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. Have a good rest of your evening. Have a good day tomorrow. And we'll see you guys again on Wednesday. Good night.